G'day, my name's Joel Rasmussen from Fight News Australia, and today I'm talking to HEX featherweight champion Kaan Ofli. Kaan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man.
And along with that, let's not forget also Bushido champion as well, double champ.
Yes, yes. Double champ right now.
How you're over in Bali in the more at the moment. How is it?
Yeah, it's good. I got here last week and kind of just the first phase of my camp, getting back into the first phase of my training for potential next fight. Going really good. I love the weather here. I haven't been here since it's been about 4 or 5 years. I actually the last time I was here is when I took the first step to kind of start fighting overseas. So yeah, I've got a lot of friends here and a lot of memories here.
Talking about that camp, I've heard that you're over there for 10 weeks in camp. Is there anything in the works? Is there a date we have? Is there a fight coming up that you can talk about?
Just rumors. I'm gravitating towards the Contender Series this year. So we're pushing for that, and if that doesn't happen, I heard that there's some rumors that UFC is coming to Sydney towards the end of the year. So I'd love to be on that show or both. I'd like to do Contender Series, then back it up 2 months later or 1 month later, just because I'm so good at fighting short notice nowadays. So I'd love to be able to do Contender Series and UFC Sydney. So yeah, fingers crossed, man. And yeah, that's what I'm preparing for.
Talking about, being in camp, and then I understand if you have to speak, you can't say exact things, but if you're in a camp, but you're still unsure of the future, does that change a camp at all? Does that make things more difficult when you're kind of doing all this work for something you're not fully sure about?
It's not like the most ideal situation would be knowing who your opponent is and then having the time to prepare for that opponent. But I do this full time. I do this professionally, and I've been doing it for a very long time. In the sense where everything else is really secondary. So I just try and get better everywhere, and then when the opponent comes up, we just make the adjustments according to that opponent. So yeah, look, we're aiming for them two things, either Contender Series or UFC, but I'm not waiting for anything. So we're gonna ramp it up and we're gonna get ready for something.
Talking about that, you mentioned we're 10 weeks in Bali, but you train out of Bali, you train out of Absolute in Melbourne. Is there any intention on this camp coming back and doing some training in Melbourne, or will you be in Bali for your camp?
No, no, no. My base is Melbourne. My base is Absolute MMA, and it has been that way for the last 4 or 5 years. I just like coming out here. I spent maybe a year here in the past, so I like to always cross train and get some different looks from different people. And I really like that. My head coach Simon Carson supports that as well. And I think it's yeah, there's benefits to it, getting some different looks from different body types and techniques and whatnot. So yeah, I'll just do a little bit of a training camp here, but head back home and we'll do the actual fight camp over there.
You train, out of Absolute in Melbourne, so they've got yourself, featherweight HEX champion and Bushido champion. You've got Joseph Luciano, who is a welterweight Eternal champion, and Lisa Kiriakou, who just captured the HEX title. What is the culture like at Absolute, where you've got in the local scene, you've got these killers, and then obviously you've got Jack Jenkins, who's in the UFC. What is it like training at Absolute with so many high level talents?
It's just stacked at the moment. There's so much talent in the professional side of things, and also the amateurs as well. Like our amateurs are coming up, and I've been in this for a while, and our amateurs at a really high level, man. So I'm excited for them too to make the breakthrough and turn pro. But yeah, the training room is amazing. Our structure is awesome. Simon's kind of got the training structure down perfect, where no stone unturned. And because we've all kind of been working together for so long, the friendship and the vibe has just grown over the years. So in terms of helping each other whenever someone's got a fight and whatnot. we kind of just go that extra mile to yeah, get the work done.
You mentioned earlier you're no stranger to fighting both on short notice and overseas. I want to cover the overseas aspect first. Now you've captured a title in Australia. What does that feel like? Does that feel any different? You've captured a title in Australia, but you've also fought at that international level. What is it like between the two?
Uh, I personally love fighting uh, internationally, and it was a decision that I gravitated towards because I couldn't actually stay active in Australia. I was struggling to get fights and staying active early on, so I you know I sold everything and I made the move here, and that's when I had one international fight before I moved to Bali, and that's when I had my Brave fight and the UAE Warriors, and then coming back to Melbourne and then flying over to Belgium recently and winning a title in Belgium. So um, I love fighting everywhere. I love fighting in general, but there's something to traveling. Maybe it's my inner genes, my inner warrior genes. The Genghis Khan, wanting to go travel. And spread his seed and take over lands. There's something more to it where I can go to enemy territory or unknown territory and just fight and take over and win.
Traveling and conquering.
Exactly, exactly.
Uh, you're a proud Turkish Australian. And I was watching a video recently that got posted on the Absolute channel of you and Joseph Luciano breaking down your most recent title wins. And something that you guys keep talking about during your fight is the crowd. Heaps of Turkish people in the crowd cheering for you, cheering you on. How does that feel? Because as you mentioned, you go to other people's territory. There may not be as big of a following in maybe places like, the UAE or Belgium. Like, I don't know, there may be. But what's it
Yeah,
like to have like that support in the crowd?
yeah. It's a definite element of support. Then again, it kind of sometimes makes me nervous too because I feel like I've got all my people there, I've got my family there, and I have to show up and I have to kind of prove it to them. So when I travel overseas, sometimes that element isn't there where there's no one in the crowd that I have to kind of, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but 100% when things are going wrong and I can hear, all my Turkish fans or, my family yelling, I sometimes I go tunnel vision, but sometimes I hear these things and it can give me extra strength, it can take, yeah, I can get to a new level sometimes that way.
You mentioned a
They're
little bit.
crazy though, man. Yeah.
That's
Crazy.
good. That's
They're
what you
wild.
want.
Yeah, 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 100%. And like the Turkish people, like we're known to be like really patriotic and like we support our people and with the football and fights and everything like that, or just war in general. You know what I mean? Like yeah, we go wild when it comes to them things.
Excellent, excellent. That's what you want with a culture, a real
100%,
sense of brotherhood and connection.
100%, 100%. Yeah.
You've mentioned it there, and I've heard you speak about it before. You've spoken about almost this feeling of being, I'm going to use the phrase like built for war. You say
Mm.
that, you said it's in the genes to travel and fight. When did you get that feeling? How far into your training were you like, we need to go?
It was, I don't know, like I kind of felt it as soon as I got into it, man. As soon as I got into martial arts, like the first thing I did was Japanese jiu-jitsu. And I'm so thankful that that was the first taste of martial arts I did because it's like a true art form of almost traditional MMA. Yeah, I started training. I did that with Matt Tonkin in Epping, and yeah, to this day, I'm really thankful that that was the first taste of martial arts that I did because I could really kind of join everything together. And we would even do like stick fighting and like knife self defense and judo and MMA and jiu jitsu and everything. So um, then on, I was like, man, like this is what I'm gonna do. Like this feels natural, and I don't enjoy doing anything else.
Uh, we talked about the traveling aspect. Now I want to talk about the short notice aspect. You captured the Hex featherweight title on roughly 2 weeks' notice after a teammate of yours got injured. Obviously, you're helping them in camp, so you may not, you're in shape still. But what went through your mind when you got the call that you will be fighting for the title?
So something that I haven't actually spoken about yet, that I want to clarify is a few weeks before that fight even got presented to me, like 3 4 weeks, we had a death in the family. My brother-in-law passed away. It was a sudden death at a work site, and this kind of touched us a lot because not only because he was part of the family, but he was also an undefeated bantamweight MMA fighter, Muhammad Abdu, and he also fought in Melbourne and in the Melbourne Pavilion, and he was kind of getting ready for he was back in training and he was getting ready for a comeback. So at the time, I was supporting my family, I was grieving, and I was also supporting my teammates. I was supporting Jack getting ready for his fights and the other boys that were getting ready for his fights. So yes, I was training, but I wasn't like in training camp, you know what I mean? So it's a different level, fighting for a title and all that. So yeah, it was a really hard time for me. And I was kind of just in support mode. And I was at the time I was happy. I was content with not fighting. And if I was going to miss an opportunity, I was content with it. And when Raja, there was some things that happened with Eternal, and Sam got offered, to fight, and that fell through. And a few weeks later, Raja got injured, and at that point, I just felt like it was destiny. I felt like it was destiny for me, to prove it to myself, to prove it to my family, and also do it for Muhammad Abdul as well. To kind of fight for him at that time. So yeah, that was kind of the turning point. When I got offered the fight, I was like, yeah, like this is what's right. This is what's meant to happen. God's kind of paved the way, and I'm gonna take this opportunity, and I'm gonna win, and I'm gonna smash it. I'm gonna kill it, even though it's 2 weeks notice, and the weight cut was hard because I wasn't like yeah, like I said, I was training, but I wasn't like cutting weight or anything like that. So um yeah, man. So that was the mind frame going into it, and that's why whatever happened, the adversity that I felt in the first round, like it wasn't gonna stop me. Like no one was gonna stop me that night because I had much more laying on the line. Like it wasn't just my win streak and all that. Like it was a little bit more personal. It was family involved.
Firstly, I'm so sorry to hear about the loss in your family. My sincerely condolences.
All
Um,
good, thank you.
of course. You've talked about before, you mentioned that pressure that kind of comes. You have your family there, that ability to rise from things like that, from setbacks and from that pressure. What does that do to a fighter's mentality?
I think it only if I like all the things that's happened in my life and the fact that I've been able to overcome it, uh, show up, not quit, and still win. It only adds to my strength. So when I get to the UFC, or like from a from a fan's point of view, like you see two guys getting into the cage, and both could be like amazing athletes, both could be really talented, but then you just see one that has like more of a warrior spirit, you know, and that could be genetical, like with genetics, or it could be like what that person has gone through in their life and overcome. And when you see me fight, it's both. I feel like it's in my genetics to fight, but also I've overcome so much that when I get into the cage, that's the energy that you feel. That's the presence that you feel in there. That you know you can't stop me.
Uh, so when you won that fight, you won by, I think they counted it as a rear naked choke. It was like a rear naked, but it also kind of looked like a head and arm triangle. Uh,
Uh, yeah, I was on the neck anyway.
oh, either way, it was a
Yeah,
choke.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
as I mentioned before, Joseph Luciano also he captured his title with a rear naked choke. What is the grappling culture like at Absolute?
Man, like Absolute is known for their grappling. Obviously Lachlan Giles, Craig Jones, and many other like jiu-jitsu athletes that I can't name right now. There's so many guys that uh have been killing it in the jiu-jitsu world and competing on the world stage. So we have the best resources and the best understanding of grappling. And what everyone's going to see now is that evolve into our MMA team and our MMA program. And like I said before, I truly believe that we will be, the next CKB, the next American top team, the next, big established gym that, we're just good everywhere. I truly believe that Absolute MMA has one of, if not the best grappling in the world.
After your win, you were also awarded with a necklace that says champion on it. I was wondering, is that a piece that oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Absolutely rocking it. I was gonna ask, is that a piece that you wear out, or is that something that it's like it stays at home?
Man, like I'm humble, so I'll wear it underneath my t-shirts just to maybe remind myself because sometimes this chain is good as a reminder because I'm always so humble that I need to remind myself that I'm the champ.
Of course, keep it close to the heart. You've recently signed with Rival Sports Management. And of course, you've mentioned just then there are some, some whispers and some things in the pipeline. What is that connection like when you've got, you're now pseudo teammates with, people who are already in the UFC, as well as being teammates with someone who is literally in the UFC?
Yeah. I'm really excited and happy with this new alignment with Rival. Working kind of closely with Dom and Courtney, and we've got to already have a really good kind of relationship, and I'm really excited to see kind of where it takes us. And yeah, like you said, they've already got guys like Robert Whitaker and Jimmy Crude and a few other guys in the UFC already. So um, yeah, I'm really excited, and I really look forward to what we can do in and out of the cage together. And yeah, there's definitely going to be some amazing things coming along.
Now that you've done it twice, what is the feeling of winning a professional title like?
Yeah, I Joey mentioned this in our podcast, where he kind of you think that you have like this, huge surge of like energy and you're like, ah, like I've conquered and whatnot. But it's kind of um like you just feel like a great sense of fulfillment and a lot of yeah, like what's the word? I can't think of the word now, man, but it's just like good sense of relief, sense of relief that like all your hard work, all the times and hours that you've put into, your craft and sacrifice a lot of other things too, being family and work and this and that it all pays off, So in that moment, you're just like, yeah, like it worked out, like my dreams kind of worked out, my sacrifices worked out. And that's the two big that's the biggest feeling that I felt in the two titles that I've now gained. And I would probably feel the exact same way with any other title that I win, even if it's the UFC championship. I would just feel like a great sense of relief that that we got it done.
You've spoken before about how all fighters can will themselves and keep themselves training. You've mentioned on whether it be people's families, whether it be a myriad of different things. For you, Khan, what's your reason to get up and train?
My reason to get up and train now is there's a few things. Obviously, the fact that I've already committed to this long time ago, and that I don't want anything else. And it's been really hard along the way where I felt like giving up, and mainly due to financial reasons. The fact that I haven't been able to really support myself or support my family and get a house and all that stuff like normal people do. So there's been a lot of hard times, along the path. But instead, whenever I did come towards a little bit of money, I've actually just always reinvested it back into my dream. That being training, that being traveling for training. Got your question.
Your reason for training, reason to
Reason,
get up in
yeah,
the morning.
yeah. Well, it's that, man. Like I've already made that decision a long time ago to make this to make this work. That I'm a professional fighter, and I want to take it all the way. There's no limit for me right now. I want to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to be the UFC champion too. And if you're not going to be thinking that way, then you're only limiting yourself. So, I want to make tens of millions of dollars through fighting and whatever else it brings. And I want to support my family and, support my mom and give back to the people that have supported me along the way.
Khan, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Enjoy Bali while you're over there. I know you're in there for
Thank you,
camp,
man.
but I hope you do get a chance to maybe see some sights.
I have to, because I haven't celebrated too much, to be honestly, man. I've been in the trenches, and I've been working. I've been working really hard over the last few years with all these fights and all that stuff. So I haven't really celebrated too much, but it's always training for me. But thank you, and yeah, I'll try and have a little bit of downtime as well.
Excellent. And hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.
My man, thank you. Thanks for having me, and it was a great chat.